Hello again, Mr. P here, and I guess this is going to technically be episode 3, but listed as 2. Guessing Dave Navarro or Jane's addiction had something to do with actual 2 disappearing. Before we get into this, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button to keep up with my tone matching series, reviews, and of course, the series you're watching right now, Cup of Tea with Mr. P. In today's episode, I wanted to kind of discuss all the hype over, as the video title suggests, the possible Myles Kennedy signature Telecaster, or T-style guitar, by Paul Reed Smith. Now, lots of pictures and video have been making their way all over the net via groups and other YouTubers, but I kind of wanted to take a bit of a dive into this for a moment. While I do that, I'm going to display a cool pro shot video of Myles using the guitar on the screen for you to drool over while I talk. Yeah, there we go. So we first started seeing Myles play Fender's Hellies back in 2019 when Alter Bridge was touring in support of the Walk the Sky album. You know, before COVID came and screwed up the world. Apparently, during that time, he was sort of falling out of love with the instrument in general, picked up a particular vintage Telly, and it reignited his love of the guitar. Which, yeah, I get it, it happens. You gotta remember that for the most part, all we really see Myles using an Alter Bridge are primarily custom 24s, single cuts, and Paul's guitars, because let's be honest, the Paul's guitar core model is a monster of tonal capabilities. So I guess over a good, at least, 15 years or so of using pretty much nothing but PRS guitars, he maybe fell into a bit of a rut and needed some change. So this thing isn't exactly a Telly in the traditional standards as we know Telecasters as they are, but seemingly sort of PRS kind of take on it. I get it, as well as I'm sure many of you guitar and bass players do. Supposedly that's why we all get gas, and that's why we probably have more than 2 or 3 guitars. Or 12 or 13. Yeah. Sometimes you kind of need a change. In these pictures and video, we're seeing what appears to be a somewhat familiar Telly body. Maple neck, looks like those might be narrow field pickups in both the bridge, neck, Telly style bridge, just like the Vela. And for what it is, it's cool. It's its own vibe, you know? Now, the last time there was big hype about a new PRS signature model was, of course, the John Mayer Silver Sky. In a similar way, photos and videos came out of him using it live, and the guy essentially broke the guitar faction of the internet. Finally, a few years pass, a core model is announced, and people go nuts over it. It's like one of the best-selling guitars out there, as is the new SE model that they released earlier this year. Now, there's no denying that John Mayer is an incredible player, whether you're a fan of his earlier pop work, his more rootsy blues style, or even, like what he's done with the Dead. The guy is, in a sense, a household name, but there's also the fact that PRS makes incredible guitars that are, as it's put, more in the traditional way of how guitars used to be made. Plus, you have many who play them because they make a fine, well-made instrument that you can pick up off the wall in a store and play that night at a gig. Seeing as how Les Pauls and Strats are truly the 2 biggest and renowned shapes, it's sort of no surprise that John Mayer's Strat has been such a huge hit. And with that being said, that brings me to Myles Kennedy. Now, many would argue, why should Myles Kennedy get a signature guitar? Alter Bridge isn't that big a band. In the US, no, they're not. Overseas, however, they're freaking huge. However, again, no denying what a great player Myles is, and I have to be honest, in comparing Myles to his bandmate Mark Tremonti, yes, I know, 2 completely different types of players, Myles has really more so come into his own in a way that you can actually differentiate the 2 players within a song. Actually, I have to admit, as big a Tremonti fan as I've been for the past 25 years or so, I've been digging a lot more of what Myles actually brings to the table more than Mark, especially in his solos. In live videos and on record, Myles seems to have a lot more feel, where Mark has really become more of the shredder that I just can't get into anymore. I know some people might be into that, but it's just not my thing. When Mark Tremonti got his signature model that was available to the public, it was at a time that Creed pretty much ruled the world. And as much as people might think that Creed was always hated, they really weren't. They were rock radio darlings, so Tremonti having a signature model was absolutely justifiable. But what about Myles? Again, like I said before, Alter Bridge isn't ridiculously huge, so here's my thoughts on that argument. Would people really be interested in a Myles Kennedy signature tele model? My answer? Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that as a fan of Myles as a player. I'm going by the fact of how many articles and videos have come out the past few months pondering, is Myles Kennedy going to get a PRS tele signature? The part to focus on there isn't Myles Kennedy or even signature. It's PRS and tele. From the Fender side, the Strat and Telecaster are the most used, beloved, and versatile instruments. Now, bring in the feel of a PRS, and that just sounds like heaven. I've seen many posts online where people have said that they bought a Tremonti single cut not knowing who he even was. And the same sort of goes for the Silver Sky. People are buying it because it's a high-end PRS model with attention to detail and looks, feel, and playability that makes it a dream to play. So, what do you think? Would you actually be interested in a PRS tele-style guitar? Or is it just something cool to fawn over and not really your cup of tea? See what I did there? I want to hear what you think, so leave your comments below, give me a good laugh, and bicker amongst each other. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next episode of Cup of Tea with Mr. P. What a crappy name.